Hi, today I wanted to talk about sexagesimal or base 60 and why we see it used in place of base 10 in specific cases like time and angle measurement. Base 10 makes sense for us as humans since we have 10 fingers, so it's sort of natural that when first learning to count things, humans decided to count on their digits. Base 60 is a little bit less obvious since humans don't have 60 fingers. It's thought that it originated in ancient Sumer, where on one hand, you could use your thumb to count each joint segment, I guess, of your fingers, and since you have 12 that you can count using your thumb, you can count to 12 on one hand. The other hand could potentially just count from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and a combination of those two measurements can let you count to 60. So in practice, that means that they would be counting to 60 in groups of 12. Somewhat interestingly, by the time of Babylon, we know that it's the case that they were counting to 60 in 6 groups of 10 rather than 5 groups of 12. How do we know this? It's actually because of the script that's used. So for those of you familiar with Roman numerals, for example, we won't go too into depth, but this is the Roman numeral 1, and to write the Roman numeral 2, I simply put another 1 next to it. Of course, there's a little bit more complication than that, but the ancient Babylonian system was quite similar. They had a character for 1, dish, which looked like this, and to write 2, you'd put another 1 next to it, and to write 3, another 1 next to it. And of course, there were some irregularities. For example, for 4, they started stacking it rather than putting them on the left or right of the previous character. However, you'd expect that if they counted to groups of 12, they might assign a specific character to the number 12, but instead we see the character U, which is that wedge, which represents the number 10. And so based on this fact, we can assume that by the time of Babylon, they were counting to 60 in groups of 10, 6 groups of 10, rather than 5 groups of 12. It can kind of be extrapolated that since a lot of our, first astronomical observations and early math was done by the Sumerians and later Babylonians, that this tradition of sexagesimal carried on into modern science and lives on in the measurement of time and angles today. Bye.